COVID and Corona, if it didn't teach us anything, it should teach us the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This virus enters your body learns how to fight it. It figures it out without you doing anything. If a virus enters my phone, it doesn't fight it by itself. If I drop this phone and it cracks, it doesn't heal itself. If I don't charge my phone at night, it doesn't charge itself. So if this cannot come by itself, how can an atheist say that this body, that this universe, that this planet, that this balance, that this perfectly designed human being and animals in a perfect balance? Look, how do we breathe in oxygen and put out carbon dioxide? And how animals, they breathe in oxygen and put out carbon dioxide. But plants, they take in carbon dioxide and put out oxygen. If either balance is gone, we couldn't survive. When you plant a tree, it lets out perfect amounts of carbon dioxide to meet with the soil that lets out the same for it to grow. How can we imagine that this came from nothing? It's illogical. It doesn't make sense. When we look at the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our hearts, they pump blood in the exact equal amount necessary for energy that is exerted. All of us sitting here right now, our hearts are pumping blood. Who's even thinking about that? Which one of you's programmed your heart? Which company, which software developer, which hardware developer sat and made your heart to have that program to pump? Imagine even if you had to physically remember. If all you had to do was remember, we would all be dead. The first time you go to sleep, khalas. But who made that system that the heart pumps even when you're asleep, even when you don't think about it? Who makes it that kidneys and livers all function in a perfect manner for you to function? How can you say that this came from nothing? How can an intelligent human being ever imagine that? If we look at the one-way valve of our stomach, it prevents influx of digested food. Otherwise, that food you eat would be coming back up. Those acids that you are dissolving food will throw up. We have the same on the other side, towards the canal to take food out. Imagine if that muscle wasn't made to control, you would be walking and waste would be trailing behind you. So who made this system? In perfection, things that we never think about. Challenge. Write this down. Next time you have an atheist come up to you at a da'wah stall or in school, or a professor who thinks he knows, the skull bone, you see the skull bone of children before they go through the birth canal, it's unfused. It's put where it's softer and put together. Otherwise, as doctors and scientists tell us, the child would not be able to come out from the canal. Tayyib, who programmed that? How can evolution explain that? Evolutionists tell us that the body evolved to necessity. So there was a time when you didn't have these functions, and then it evolved to necessity, to adapt to its environment. Okay. If the first children didn't have this function of the unfused skull, they couldn't have been born. And if they were born without this function, then that would have never evolved. Either way, evolutions are proven wrong. When they tell us about the fact that everything evolved from not being there, meaning random selection and random mutations, then if we look at the nerve endings that we have that send a signal that is covered like you see the wires that we cover, so the electric signal is not lost. Before that step in evolution, we could not have sent that signal to muscles. You couldn't have operated. And if it operated before, then it would not have evolved. Either which way, they cannot answer these questions.